Welcome to another episode from Inside Treasures. My name is Phoebus and I love to challenge myself and those around me for the purpose of growth. This podcast is about helping you to heal, to change, and to grow. By listening to this episode, you're going to learn about letting go of limiting behaviors and the weights of the past and allowing yourself to live freely in the present. In the last episode, we talked about one main thing, which was the locus of control, which we said was a simple idea whether we have control over things or we don't. We also talked about self-efficacy, which was the idea of us having that belief that we can achieve something. In this episode, we're going to talk about the growth mindset. Stay tuned and find out how the two ideas can help us live a better life. One of my favorite quotes is from Henry Ford. Whether you think you can or you can't, either way, you're right. The idea of the growth mindset comes from Carol Dweck, a psychology researcher at Stanford University. She spent years looking into this notion of fixed versus growth mindset. What is the fixed mindset? In short, fixed mindset people believe that their qualities can't be changed, while growth mindset people believe that they can improve. A fixed mindset person believes that the qualities are set at birth, carved in stone. There's nothing they can do to change it. We are who we are, and there isn't much we can do about it, so we might as well forget about everything else, because this is how things are. Characteristics such as intelligence, personality, and creativity are fixed traits. You can't change them or develop them. Whether I can paint or not paint, that's how it is, and there's nothing I can do about it. That's the idea behind fixed mindset. On the other hand, growth mindset is the belief that we can cultivate our qualities through effort. Everyone can change and grow through application and experience. So in short, a growth mindset is the belief that we can develop our abilities. In a growth mindset, people believe that their most basic abilities can be developed through dedication and hard work. Now, some of the criticism behind the fixed and growth mindset is that people are actually somewhere in between. They're never fully fixed mindset. They're never in the growth mindset fully. We all have a generic tendency of how we view the world and how we see ourselves, and we have that belief of, yes, things can change, other people can change, or we can have things as they are, and they will never change. That's how they've always been. And that's our generic outlook of life. Being in the fixed mindset limits our choices and our outlook in life. It makes us psychologically incapacitated. What we want to do and get through with this episode is how we can challenge it, how we can identify the times that we're in a fixed mindset. And maybe your life is more, maybe your life is less, but being able to pick up, let's say, for example, I've been wanting to run this podcast. When I believe that there's nothing I can do to actually achieve that, when I believe that I can't use my voice or I need all the gear and I don't know how to work it, that puts me in the fixed mindset. When I put myself in the growth mindset, I tell myself that I can learn how to use the microphone, I can learn how to record, I can learn all these things, I can learn how to speak. And you see the difference there? Learning and having that space that things can be learned. I can learn how to deal with my emotions. I can learn how to deal with others. I can learn to be assertive. I can learn to feel confident. I can learn to be competent. I can learn. You can apply it anywhere. So why should we care? If who we are and how we are is defined at birth or by our story, for example, the things that happen to us, especially when we have no control, for example, when we're children, or things that we were just subjected to, because this is what happened, the narrative in our life, our story. If that's who we are and how things are, then clearly and honestly, there is nothing we can do. There is nothing we can do to change. It means our control is diminished. Yet there are stories of people who've been through really bad times, and somehow they've made it through. Somehow they've become better people. Somehow, despite the adversity, they managed to get through. When we reverse this around and we start to believe that there are things within our control which we can do, now we begin to have a chance. Now we can do something about it. Now we have regained back that control. Instead of the things just being, I am the way I am because I'm Greek. I am the way I am because I was the third child and the last child in my family. All these narratives, I am the way I am because someone said to me something when I was 5 years old. These are narratives, and they're true, and they're very true to us, and we have emotional attachments to them. And beyond a shadow of a doubt, I feel compassionate towards that. But there's more to life than being revolving around the story that happened, especially for most of us so long ago. But even today, if I'm just saying I'm passive, there's nothing I can do today, what do you want me to do? Because I can't change. I can't change where I am. It goes back to control. What is it that I can change? Let's find that. Let's look for that. Let's challenge that belief. Is there really nothing I can do? What can I learn that can take me out of this situation? This brings me to another concept, the inevitability of change. Everything constantly changing. Whether we like it or not, things in nature are changing. Heraclitus said, "Ta panda re." Everything is always in a state of flux. Everything is constantly changing. Everything is constantly in flow. Nothing is. He used to talk about the sun is not the same every single day. He would say that the river is constantly changing. The man who enters the river is not the same man that entered the river before. But how about the things that don't change? I mean, my husband, my wife, they always do this one thing that gets into my nerves and they never change. They will never change. They have never changed. My friend is doing this every single time I tell her, and then she always comes back like that. You remember from the last episode, we talked about focusing on ourselves and not other people. So let's go back. Because when we're looking at what other people are doing, we miss on what we're doing. And this is about you. This is about me remembering and knowing that there are things that we can do to change. We can't force other people to change, but we can help ourselves to change and take that responsibility for ourselves. One thing in these situations that we can apply is changing how we react to the thing that's happening. I can react differently. I can laugh at it. Even if they don't change, it no longer bothers me. I get detached emotionally. We change our reaction, we change our attachment to that emotion that we have towards that action that's being done, and we'll feel better as humans. In hypnosis, we have the concept of post-hypnotic suggestion, and that's usually, you've probably seen it. If you've seen a show with hypnotists, you've probably seen it. They say, when I do this, this will happen. So when I click my fingers, you're going to cluck like a chicken. When I raise my hand, you're going to take off your shoes. Things like that. And this is what happens. We program ourselves over and over that when this happens, I react this way. This is the narrative that we keep running. And it gets automated and becomes habitual. And that confuses us on the way we react, which is the opposite of what we do with mindfulness. We just react, we react. It's quick. We just react. And it's learning to take back that control and say, when this happens, I don't necessarily have to respond this way. Instead, I can respond in a different way. What way would that be for you now? So you see, we can change the way we react to things. We have a choice. We do have a choice. We might be used. We might have momentum that leads us to act a certain way, but we can act differently. We have every right. There are certain events in our life that put us in the backseat. That makes us think, truly, there's nothing I can do right now. We get crushed by emotions. We get crushed by thoughts. And we feel, I'm so helpless. There's no way I can do anything to ever change. Personally, I experienced such an occasion when I had to drop out of university. And it seemed like the whole world came crashing down on me. I had to let go of a lot of things, and that's why I went through a lot of suffering. But at the time, I really felt crushed by the emotions. I felt sad. I had a sense of depression. Everything was gloomy. I felt disappointed that I had disappointed others. I felt that I disappointed myself. And the emotions I was going through, I thought, there's nothing I can do. So I stayed there and stewed. But slowly, after a bit of time, I started to feel and to think, I might be feeling like this right now. I might be feeling like this today. But I know this will change. At the moment, I was passive. I wasn't taking control. But I still had that belief that at the end of the tunnel, there is light. After the rain, the sun will come out again. It's just a matter of time, and it's realizing that even when we're passive, that there is hope at the end, and we can build that hope. When we have that as belief that even how terrible things feel and are right now, yes, they are terrible, things will change. It might take a week, a day, a month, a year, 10 years, 50 years. Doesn't matter. But when we put that belief, when we can see it, when we can clearly see it there, then it becomes a reality for us, a new reality. Then we can slowly jump ship from where we are to where we want to be. But I have been suffering with this for years. Yes, I'm sure you have, and it can change. Let's agree on one thing. It will stop when we die. Can we agree on that? Can we at least agree on that? That whatever it is that's bothering us, when we die, it will cease to exist. It will not escape the inevitability of death. Start from there. That one day, when I die, this will end. And when you do that, how will life be when this ends? There is no life. But how would it be without having that? How would you feel when this thing ceases to exist right now? Instead of, not have to be morbid and die, but picture it. How would things change? We feel a relief. It creates the perception of what is that's been bothering us, not being there, and how life is. It creates a possibility that this can happen. This can happen for me even before death. I can be there because we can already see the end result. We can see what it is that's bothering us. What is the life that we want it to be like? By visualizing that end of our life, it helps us pivot. It makes that thing that's been bothering us less significant. If you have something in mind, sit there now as a result. What would it look like? What would it feel like? Which up to this point, we haven't been able to take a glimpse. This opens the window of our perception. And having a look, it helps us have a look at a new reality. Once we see that possibility in our mind, we can begin to work with it. We can begin to work towards it. We can make it real now. Our problems usually stem with us identifying and attaching to a self that is not real. We attach the things that are happening to us, our thoughts, our emotions, whatever is happening in the world, with who we are, the things that we do. And then we associate that. This is who I am. Because I do this, this thing defines me. But it's the other way around. We define the things that we do. We define our emotions. And it goes back to the last episode and the meaning we attach to things. This reference to self is obscured. It's distorted. It helps us think of selves in very limited ways. We're referring to the wrong self, and that self is changeable. It's malleable. So we get to identify and attach ourselves into the narratives, into the stories. And this is who we are. Because I did something once, or because it's a habit of mine and I keep doing it, I think of myself as that. I have a negative view towards that. Hence, that's who I am. It's the distinction in psychology and in teaching students and children that we should criticize a behavior and not the person who's doing the behavior. Hate the sin, not the sinner. Because when, for example, a child knocks off a glass and we say bad boy, bad girl, this associates our actions to our whole being. I as a person am bad because I dropped a glass of water. It's not that I sometimes do things that they don't work out well, or sometimes we have accident and we can work on that. It's I as a being. I'm a bad person. And we take this inside of us and we take this to heart. And it's the same for the good things, because we can learn and to teach children that was a great thing that you did because of this and this and that. And they learn to have a different view. We don't have to inflate our egos and say, look at me, because I've done this, I'm such a great person. That's the other way of doing it. But you see how we can attach on the negative, we can attach this meaning that puts us in there and say, this is who I am because I do that. But the things that we do are in such small fragments of time. Now, why should they define us? I dropped a glass once. It happened for a few seconds. We picked up the mess, and that's the end of it. That's the event, the one-time event that happens once, for a few seconds, for a few minutes, for a few hours. But instead, what happens is, I'm a bad person. No matter what I do, I'm still a bad person. Because I dropped that glass once upon a time. And today, it was a few hours ago. Tomorrow was just yesterday. From a week from now, it was just a week ago. And then it's 10 years before. But I'm still that bad person. Because that belief gets ingrained that I'm not good enough, that there's nothing I can do because I dropped that glass. That's how we identify with a lot of our emotions and our thoughts. And we go back and back and back. And when we put that meaning, then we keep reminding ourselves. And then there might be a point which we completely forget why we feel the way that we feel, why we think the way that we think. Looking back, most of the time, won't help to change things. It's looking at today. Because we might not be able to remember that we dropped a glass. But that feeling that I'm a bad person, for example, I can remember it. I understand what I'm experiencing right now. I'm identifying with something that I'm doing or that I've done, and it's defining who I am. So how can I change this? How can I respond to this? How can I react to this? It's finding that idea and the things that I can do. It's building that space that this is not who I am. I might feel like this. I might feel like this right now. But it definitely doesn't define me. And mindfulness helps us with that because it helps us see that thoughts are just and emotions, just mental events. They come, they go, they rise, they fall. And that's how it is. Doesn't necessarily mean it's who we are. Think about that. And that's how we build hope. Because we feel we're in a way, somewhere, that we define ourselves. But we have that generic belief that things can change, even if they're passive. But if we become active, then we ask the question, what are the things that we can change? And you can see this changes from things that are just as they are, fixed, into I can grow and I can change and make things different. To summarize, we talked about attitude, about belief, and about hope. What is the controllable? If I could, what would I do to change it? What problem is this belief of everything being fixed causing me? How much pain, how much suffering do I have to endure because I believe that there's nothing I can do? And if I were to challenge this myself, to myself, right now, what could I do differently? What can I control? Because when we have the belief of fixed mindset, this is who I am. We put a halt on everything. We destroy all of efforts because we never begin. And there's a creative genius within us for helping us resolve problems. But what we do is we smack the kid on the hand and then we tell them to shut up because there's nothing we can do to change. And that way we kill all that ingenuity, all that playfulness that we can create in us. That's what's stopping us a lot from thinking that we can change. When we say, but that's how I am, we close all the doors to any possibility of change. But things are fixed. There's nothing I can do about it. The doors remain shut. That is when we need to understand that we're operating for a fixed mindset. And we need to challenge it and move to the growth mindset. How? By having hope, by having belief that things will change either way. It doesn't really matter. Things will change. If I participate in that change, I can actually accelerate that change. If I can find the things that I can change, then I can really have some fun with this. When I build and cultivate that belief that everything can change, that my attitudes can change, my emotions can change, my thoughts can change, then my life can be brighter, my life can be better, and I can be an active participant, not just a bystander, not just a person in the train where everything is just passing by. I can drive my own life. I can have control over a lot of things, and that can help me have a better quality of life. Will it be hard? It might be hard. Will it be challenging? Yes. Will there be adversity? Yes, absolutely, there might be. But can I do it beyond belief? Can I make sure that at least I do my bit? I make my effort? How can we strengthen that belief? Because even believing blindly, it doesn't mean that this will help us change things. One trick that I try to remember is to do tiny, minute changes. In life, we talk a lot about big changes. Let's make big changes, radical things that change the world around. Yeah, I want to meditate every single day. I want to exercise 50 hours a day. The impossible things. Make a small, tiny change and see how that little control that you exerted. Play it safe. Maybe I am operating from a fixed mindset. I'm just going to toy with this idea of growth mindset. I want to do one tiny thing in a specific situation that will help me look at it differently. One tiny thing. And when you do that, you will see yourself change. You will see yourself grow. The result won't be huge, but your belief will be strengthened. Your confidence will be restored. And when you have done it once, one little change, you can do it again. Because you've done it once, you can do it again, and again, and again. And like an avalanche, it builds up with tiny little minute changes. Think of change in behavior as a grain of sand. Every time we're operating from a growth mindset, we're putting a grain of sand on a scale. And then we do it again and again and repeat it over and over. One little grain of sand won't change the weight. One little grain of sand won't do much for you. But when you add all those little grains of sand together, and you do it again and again, over and over and over again, then you will see how that pile of sand becomes more and more and more, and how the weight of the sand becomes significant. As Carol Dweck said, you're in charge of your mind. You can help it grow by using it the right way. Please share this podcast with anyone you think may benefit. Until next time, let peace guide your life, love guide your heart, and reason guide your thoughts.